Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. Today we're going to be looking at something that I haven't done in a very long time, which is a slime block cannon. And this is a hybrid slime block regen buster, which is quite a big name for a slime cannon. And because a lot of people have requested it, specifically this cannon, I have built it. So for those who don't know what a regen buster is, it is essentially just a cannon that can destroy a regen wall, because regen walls are quite difficult to destroy, at least for people that aren't familiar with how to break it. And this is a fairly simple cannon that can actually destroy it, even though it looks pretty complex. So I'm going to be explaining how you break regen walls, how you do it with this cannon, and just essentially how all of this works. So I have finally made a slime regen buster. It has a very small niche that can be filled, but at least it has a small niche. So let's get into this. So now on to firing this. So for people that don't know what a regen wall, it essentially is just a bunch of lava source blocks with cobblestone around it with lava around the edges. And that is because of the way the cobblestone or the generation effect happens in Minecraft. It means that as soon as these get hybrided or destroyed, they will instantly regenerate. And this goes ahead for all hybrid cannons, such as the slime hybrid cannon here. It will just go ahead and blow it up, but unlike a normal wall, it will then regenerate. So these can be one of the most annoying walls to actually break. So for those people who don't know how you actually regen bust it, what you would do is you would normally hybrid it. I'm probably going to fail at this, but what you'd normally do is you'd hybrid it, but then on the way down you have to place 2 or more sand while it's actually breaking. And then what that will actually do, which I completely failed at, is it will displace the water. So the water from here will actually push into this block here. So if we lay it down like this, as you can see, since there is an empty space down here, the water falls into here and then goes down here. And since there is water inside these blocks, it will then go into the lava and turn it into obsidian. This normally doesn't happen as the water isn't updated, so since it's not updated by another block such as sand, it doesn't displace, so that will allow it to regenerate because these are air blocks. So the way we have to break them is you have to hybrid and then stack at least 2 or more sand after it finally hybrids to actually break it, which is a lot that you have to do to actually do it. So that's what we have done in this cannon over here. So to start off with, let's fire it. So if we go ahead and press this button here, what will happen is this will hybrid, and that will hybrid over there, and extra sand will fire above it, so this will blow up, and then as you can see, what happens is sand actually fires over it, and a lot happened in a very small amount of time, which I'm going to explain. So if we go back over here, before I get into the nitty gritty redstone, essentially what happens is this fires off, so this is your main hybrid part, and then after this fires off and goes way over there, then what happens is a second round goes along, and then the sand along here fires out, and then another set of sand fires out up here, 1 tick or 2 ticks after that, so they land in the same place, or so this one can stack 1 block above the other one, just a couple of ticks actually after that blows up, so that way it updates before it has time to regenerate, but it still displaces the water enough to actually make it so it can't regenerate. So that's essentially how this works. Because of how well you have to have this timed, there is a lot of timing that goes on at this, and for this cannon you have to fiddle around at different ranges because of how the arc actually works on a slime block cannon. But I don't think that is the biggest issue of that. But because of how precise you can actually make slime cannons, they are insanely consistent. They are very consistent, and they can just essentially destroy it at any range from here to about 2 chunks. Because of the arc, they can't really destroy more than that, but you can get through those. So before I get into the redstone, I just want to explain the pros and cons of this cannon and why you may or may not want to use it. So there are quite a few pros. The first one is it's cheap to build. This isn't the most expensive, because normally dispensers are the most expensive resource of building a cannon, and this thing only uses 1. And the rest of it is just general materials like repeaters, redstone, all that. So generally as a cannon itself, what it can do, it's really cheap. and also it's extremely efficient because all it does is it fires 2 TNT and 3 sand. Well, a normal regen buster would fire over a stack of sand, not over a stack of TNT, which means you need like a stack of dispensers to actually break it. So it's extremely efficient for that, and because of the range mechanic, it is extremely consistent, like I said before. So it will pretty much 100% regen bust if you get the timings right. However, the few cons there are is that this is only usable in 1.8, which is real bummer, which is the main reason I don't really do slime block cannons anymore, because a lot of servers are in 1.7 because that is vanilla TNT mechanics. 1.8 they were broken, and if servers that are above that, then the server has to do some sort of compensation to actually get the mechanics back the way it was, whether it be paper spigot or something like that. But it just means at least half, like a few of the servers, may not be half, but quite a few of the servers are 1.7, including TM factions, which means you can't use these cannons on them. But if you are in a server that can, the other drawback is the fact that you can essentially only get through one wall with this. Of course, if you destroy more than one, like as you can see, we actually make quite a big gap here, and if it was closer to you, then you wouldn't have the bigger issue of the arc, so you could get through like 2, 3, or even 4. But the flaw with slime cannons is you can't get through an absolutely massive amount of walls. So if you are destroying a base that has like 10 walls, you're probably going to have to use this, and then use like a hybrid compressed cannon, which makes you wonder, it may be worth it. I think it's worth it in the end, because hybrid compressed cannon is slightly better than something like a 20 stacker that you add a regen buster to, but you're really going to have to decide for yourself. But if you're going through a massive base, this really isn't worth it. It's better to just build a bigger cannon that can also regen bust and one shot and stack 40 or 100 sand, or how much sand you are. And to start with, you're going to have to stack that sand anyway, so there's a lot that you're going to have to do as well. So apart from that, if you have the situation where you think it's viable to use it, then go for it. It's something that you can have in your arsenal, and it's something that's probably never been made before, and to be honest, this is probably the most complex slime cannon I have ever seen, and I know why, because not many people will use them. So now on to the redstone. So it may look like there is quite a lot going on, but it is actually pretty simple. There's nothing that's overly complicated about this cannon. So the first thing that happens is you press this button, and then that sends a redstone signal up on top of this dispenser and down around the side here, which actually powers this bottom piston here. So the first thing that happens is there's a repeater sent up to this. So the first thing will happen is the dispenser will activate, 1 tick after that this piston will activate, then 3 ticks after that, after the sand is falling and is about at this height. That way it's in range for this to actually push it without it being a proper entity, without it being a solid sand, being a falling sand entity. Then this will push it up, and then 1 tick after that this bit here will fire off, and it is just enough arc so it doesn't clip at the top here. So then that will fire off, and that's essentially how the same bit here works up the top. It goes in here, fires out there, and this essentially same bit here is a copy of this structure in the middle here. So the only different thing here is, since we have to fire 2 sand, we have to fire in a separate burst afterwards, and that's why we have the second bit about the top, because I can't see any way of being able to fire 2 sand that would stack on top of each other by using one little slime block. So what happens is you've got redstone here that goes around the back here, and this has to be a really long signal, which then goes down here, has a redstone torch output, because if we had one here, of course, it activates this piston, loops around back here without adding an extra block along there, comes up here, and then it goes off in this direction, which you can change this if you want this to go off earlier or later with this repeater here, which will then go ahead and activate this little module here again. And we have a redstone torch tower which goes for 2 ticks, which will then activate all of these. And the moment I just had this really short because I was firing at something really far away, but because of the way it works, the closer you fire it at it, the longer the delay you're going to need. So if you are firing at like a wall that's like 10 blocks away, you're going to need a lot more delay than if you weren't. And also the great thing about this is it's actually easier to use this cannon on a wall that's further away than it's closer, which is normally opposite the case for a normal cannon. So that's why we have this extra line here, so that way you should have enough for essentially any range unless it's point blank, which is like 1 or 2 blocks away. So that's essentially how this works. It's not that simple, it's not that disastrous of a cannon, and if you're wondering why we have an obsidian block on the left side here, it's so it acts as a guider, because when the TNT comes out the dispenser, it may go slightly off to the left or to the right, and we want it to be in the center, so that way when you're firing over range it doesn't go off to the left or to the right and fall off the sand. But because sand doesn't like go left or right, it's just a very precise position, we don't need to have a guider or anything like that up here. So it works really well, and that's the redstone. So now on to the tutorial. So now on to the tutorial. So what you're going to need is a 4x4 area, which is pretty small, but it is 12 blocks high, which is pretty ridiculous. But anyway, the first thing we are going to be doing is placing down our main blocks, but before we do that, what you're going to need is some building blocks, 15 redstone, 15 repeaters, 4 torches, 4 sticky pistons, 4 slime blocks, 2 pistons, a dispenser, 4 removable blocks, which I'm going to be using obsidian, but you could use anything from like a furnace to a melon or anything like that, and you're going to need a button, which I'd recommend a stone button, as well as some sand and some TNT. So the first thing you're going to be doing is again placing down our main slime cannon bit. So the first thing you want to do is place a block down the bottom there, place a piston with a slime block on top of it, and then go ahead and place a temporary block here and place a dispenser facing in that way, and then go ahead and place your 2 immovable blocks on either side of this. Left one is just going to be a guider, on the right side it's going to be a guider, as well as we're going to be holding your sand and pistons. You want to place a piston there and go ahead and go up 1 block above that and place some temporary blocks behind it, so that way you can go ahead and place your sticky piston and slime block in front of it like this. So now what you want to do is go ahead and go up 1 block again and essentially repeat this same pattern but without the obsidian on the side. So place that block. We don't need the dispenser this time, so we only need to place our obsidian here, but we'll need to place it here because that's where we're going to be placing redstone on top of. Then you want to go back placing a piston along here, and again going up along here. And this is actually a pretty easy design to remember, not the whole thing, but just this basic structure is not too hard to remember. So next thing you want to do is place your button here, and then go ahead and place a piece of redstone there, block there in this sort of shape, it's like an up sideways V, place a redstone repeater set to 4 ticks delay here and redstone here, and then go along and place a block here, and just in this shape here, so it's like a little staircase. Place a redstone repeater set to 1 tick here, redstone here and here, and then a redstone repeater set to 4 ticks there. So after you place your button on the side here, we are going to be taking a signal from the side here, so go ahead and place a piece of redstone here. With a repeater, you can set it on whatever delay you want to, but for now we're just going to be setting them all to 4 ticks because for our maximum delay, and you want to go along and place blocks along here like so. You can place a block here if you want to save a piece of redstone, but go ahead and place blocks there like so. Go down by 1 block, place redstone there and a redstone torch here with another repeater set to 4 ticks. Going into a block with a redstone torch above it with that, then redstone above that, and now we're going to be coming back and placing a redstone repeater here set to 4 ticks and another one here set to 4 ticks, then a block above here, and then come along by 2 blocks. So redstone here, block that off, then go ahead and place a redstone repeater set to 4 ticks delay here. And the reason you need a repeater here instead of normal redstone is to extend the delay, but if you didn't, then this repeater here would actually power that redstone. But what we're going to be doing now is placing a block here, and this is where we're going to have our redstone torch line going up, but then just because we want it to reconnect, we want to place yet another repeater here that faces into this block here. So now we're going to hopefully wish that it didn't rain, but go ahead and place a small torch tower going up like so, place redstone here, and go ahead and place another block here, and then bring this around like so while placing your redstone up just along here. Go ahead and repeat the same pattern that we did start with, so your repeater set to 4 ticks delay there, 1 set to 1 here, and then go ahead and make the same staircase shape, redstone here, and then a final repeater set to 4 ticks delay. So now the final thing that you have to do is go ahead and place sand here. You can only place this one up to 4 high, as if you place one here, get stuck on this, and since this is a solid block that will not move, so you have to have it 4, and since it fires 2 per shot, or at least on this part, you're going to have to reload it every 2 shots you do, but luckily you shouldn't need to fire it that often anyway. And then of course you can stack this one up as high as you like. The sky is the limit, literally, because it's 256 blocks. So after that, what I'll go ahead and do is test it real quick to see if it actually works, and it should work perfectly like so, and this one does. And now that you've done that and tested it, you can go ahead and fill it up with TNT, and then go ahead and destroy your wall. So good job, you have now made yourself a regen busting hybrid slime cannon. Not many people can say that. So anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please leave a like. Probably won't be doing a video like this for quite a while from now. But anyway, goodbye from TNT Madness.